呢條問題啊，I'm also a fan of any stick stuff related. Have a brief intro. 想知道了解下多少少咯。
哦，
咁你知
教個邊杆嗰個。
邊杆啊，同埋啲棍啊，我哋呢邊都有咯。Maybe I can show you guys whilst we've got a minute over our lovely weapons connection. Weapons.
攞埋過嚟。
Yeah, I can just quickly show you guys.
你可以介紹下邊杆嘅長度咧。
Yeah, just quick. Yeah, that's the bean gun we grab it today. So any other weapons questions, instantly show it off. So then there's a lot of sticks that we've got here, different lengths, different material. 呢個係用咩做嘅
？Stuff。
竹。
唔係呢個木嚟嘅。
Oh, this one's wood.
一棵樹嚟嘅，一兩年嘅樹啦。
Okay, so this is like a young wood, like 1 or 2 years, so it's more like soft and malleable.
最出名嘅風魔棍都用呢種。
Right, so the Pigua one is famous Pigua form, often use this kind of stick. 其實係咪即係其實唔同嘅棍有唔同嘅？
都可以咁講嘅，因為要邊杆你係用一隻短嘅棍，就好似呢個 stick 咁樣。咁但係要風魔棍一定要有基本上要到大概手呢個長度。
So also, we were just saying like different kinds of sticks have different kinds of purposes depending on the material they're made. So like for Fengmo Guan, that kind of form, that stick has to have a certain length to that because you could also get gigantic sticks like that, and the way you would manipulate it. Because 師傅你會唔會話邊杆同槍係同棍類似啊？
邊杆似棍嘅，呢個係槍法啦。
In the end, we would say a stick is a stick. It's just the length and the material. So depending on those criteria.
但係最常用嘅棍咧就係呢種嘅長。
But most commonly, we would use these 2 lengths of stick. 粗度咧？
粗度就其實就係。
And in terms of like
點講咧？大過一個硬幣嘅個粗度咯。
This is the kind of like when you hold it, you wouldn't want to go like.
你嘅手可以攞得住嘅。
As long as you can easily grip it with one hand, you don't have to like use a gigantic fist to hold it. 咁其實我哋其他嗰啲粗啲。These ones I find.
呢啲係因人中意重啲。
These other sticks, they're not all of. We don't use all of them. We have other masters here at as well. And some of them are Maxi always famously plays the Hongapio. And we also have
但係要留意
they play different styles.
北方嘅棍咧係有嗰個光環，但係南方時用啲棍咧係比較。
Oh yeah, so another difference he says about the sticks is.
因為咧技術上面我哋咧會換把橫把咧嘅時候係喺手上邊成日會轉動，但係南方棍要死把咧拎緊咗嘅。
So there is a difference in terms of material, which is like northern and southern. I don't know if you guys know much about.
如果南方棍咧，通常拎打完成套拳咧，佢都係拎住呢個位。
So it would be at the end of the body. It wouldn't be like 呢啲係唔會轉把咁多。Like you won't.
但係佢揸緊嗰個把，佢唔會呢度轉動。
Yeah, you won't. With the southern style, you wouldn't be shifting your stick distance. You'll be like throughout the whole style. It will be at the end of the stick. Whereas northern style, oftentimes in northern style, you would do your bar, which is this kind of manipulation, where you would have the stick length changing up and down, your hands go, the grip going up and down. This is called wood bar. It's like a wood like move agile.
死把咧就
死把 is means dead.
唔喐嘅。
Yeah, dead, stiff or like rigid. So southern style quality is they use a very rigid, stable, strong grip. But the disadvantage of that is you don't get this kind of northern characteristic agility.
其實咧北方兵器都係用把。
A lot of northern
槍啊，甚至係我哋嘅棉刀啊，真係用把。
So in order, so before, in order to get the agility, in order to do that wood art, the material of the stick is quite important to do. Because this kind of it's like it's unmarked, but this one has the bark. This one has the bark on it, but it's got it's got a layer of oil. Alright, so this is actually oil that's been applied by the manufacturer. It's because of the long-term use. That's why actually sticks can get darker in color over the years the more you use it. So these ones obviously are less used, shall we say. But also you can see this one is unbarked, and this is a southern style because they don't actually need to grip up and down. So you imagine the friction that's generated as you do that sort of agility wood bar, that has some effect on your hand. So that's some consideration when it comes to sticks.
即係其實就會考慮到好多嘅材料咧，同嘅技術咧係有關。
Yeah, so it was just a lot of material, like most things, the material that you use, the length, and it's all to be considered by the manufacturer for the purpose. But then as us as martial artists / consumers, we've got to know what we want to be using for. So if you're doing southern style, it's not quite the same stick as northern style because of the different purpose. If you use wood bar and sea bar, it's quite a big concept.
係啊，唔該。喺長兵嘅裏面呢個好重要嘅。
Especially in long.
要分開活板同埋死板。
Because even with a long 4 meters, 3 meters, this one's 3 meters. This one's 3 meters long. But even with us, we in the northern style, we would have that kind of like wood bar that kind of agility up and down. Whereas how they may only just hold it at the bottom and they won't change the distance. Yeah. We've got a lot of toys at the moment, and if you're interested, maybe we can take more time to look at it afterwards. So I'm just going to return to our desk and we can get started. Have you guys got any thoughts so far? You can send them in the chat. If you had any more further questions, just send them through. Of course, we'll start to look at them now. Okay. So we were just, for everyone that was just joining in, we were just giving a quick introduction to sticks, as it was requested by Richard, who we've spoken to before. So yes, so now we're gonna, yeah, Sifu's mentioned the interesting weapons you got there behind you. So yeah, hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us for our first ever online session. We've never done online classes before, and this is in a way, it's a test to see if it's feasible for us. As you can imagine, there's a lot of technical difficulties and also considerations in classes. So we thought, why not at first create a Q&A session, since you guys kindly took our survey, and the information that you guys put there is definitely going to help me as I help manage and run our school's marketing, our Instagram, our Facebook, our website. The content information that you guys gave definitely is feeding into what we want to connect with people on. So if you guys have noticed recently, we start to add more T stuff into our IG and more calligraphy stuff, because it seems that everyone on a whole has quite some interest as well in the other arts that Sifu also teaches. So yeah, whilst I'm giving this quick introduction, you guys can keep putting in your questions, and after this little intro, about 5-10 minutes, then we'll continue. So about myself, my name is Raymond. I'm from London, actually, if you can gather from my voice, and I actually came to Hong Kong in 2017, just a few years ago, originally to get in touch with my Asian roots, shall we say. Especially there was an opportunity in post-Brexit to sort of explore the Asian world. So I came over here trying to, get in touch with my own culture, since I have family in Hong Kong. And so a part of culture for me is Kung Fu, because growing up, I had a lot of brothers in lion dancing troupes and whatnot, but I was too young to join. So it was always a fascination for me until I came to 2017 in search for, I don't know what. And then luckily I met Yang Sifu through IG as well, right? We were just messaging. I think I put some really bad bagua up there.
2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago, something. 3 years ago?
3 years, maybe.
Maybe. And then I think Sifu introduced me, you welcomed me to a class in Yunnan. And it was on Tongbei Pigua, but I think it was Tongbei Pigua. But at that time, I had no idea what Tongbei Pigua is. And I went away and I Googled what is Tongbei Pigua and what is Tong Bei Styles and what is Pigua. There isn't a lot of information. I'm sure you guys have also Googled it up and looked it up. There isn't a lot of information out there in English. Heck, even in Chinese, not a lot online. So I went back. I think I disappeared for a bit and I came back.
Almost 1 year.
Almost half a year. Half a year. I went back to London and I came back to Hong Kong and then I got back in touch with Yang Sifu. And throughout that time, before I was learning a bit of Yang style Tai Chi, so I've got a bit of background in that too. But then from about 2018, I would say I closely studied with Yang Sifu, and we because Yang closely studied and started documenting the information, and then started to turn my notes into digital notes, and then slowly into Instagram posts. But it's all really, at first, the whole concept of our school, HK Pigua Tongbi, is just a way to document Zhuo families, Tongbei Pigua, because actually, if you look into Tongbei Styles, you will find that there's many different types. Bayuan, and then Wuxing, and then there's Shaolin, and then you'll find Pigua Tongbi. And then within Pigua Tongbi, you will often find like 2 other families, Ma family and Guo family, but you won't really find much information on our lineage, which is Zhuo family. And so it's worthwhile for us to, it seems worthwhile for me to document it down. And that's why we started the Sifu Answers on IG. So if you guys have questions, please put them through and I'll write them down. I'll ask Sifu and then get my best to put them down on our blog, on our website. And in a way, this session is an extension of that. So enough about me. Quick introduction about Yang Sifu. So Yang Sifu has over over 25 years, 30 years if you count his childhood, of experience in Kung Fu. I think you started with Tong Long Kun, right?
No, judo.
Oh, he started in primary school with judo, and then then Mantis. Yang Sifu studied in Sweden for 10, 12 years.
I moved to Sweden in 13 years.
13 years? For 13 years?
I studied there also from secondary school to university. And then I came back to Hong Kong 1994.
Okay, and in that period, you were learning?
I learned Mantis, Southern Mantis.
Southern Mantis.
More than 2 years, I think.
And that was would that be your first Kung Fu style?
Yeah, you can say that.
And then I think, as I understand, you took a break from, I think you came back to Hong Kong, right?
Yes.
And then I think life happened and you started working, and then after a while got back into Kung Fu.
That was my intention also, to learn Kung Fu in Hong Kong. From very beginning, as you come back to Hong Kong and learn Kung Fu. That's why I came back.
Okay, otherwise he would still be in Sweden. So then I think when you came back to Hong Kong,
yes.
you
So 96. I learned began to learn Tai Chi. Wu style.
Wu style Tai Chi, traditional Wu style Tai Chi.
Yes, and I continue in 15 years with my master.
Today, you still also
we meet sometimes.
So traditional Wu style, just to know, traditional style Kung Fu is quite different to Wushu style Tai Chi, which is much more acrobatics and gymnastics. If you see on our IG page, when we say traditional Tai Chi and we've got those sort of like grappling Shuai Jiao type looking techniques, those are because of the traditional Tai Chi and also Ba Gua Jiao, the internal style Kung Fu. So if you guys have questions on internal, external, I don't know how much everyone knows about that. We could answer that, but it's a long conversation if we went into that. But anyway, and then I think you studied Tongbei Pigua under how do you say his name? Zhou Sifu. Don't know how to translate his name.
Zhou Sifu. He's from Changzhou also.
Yeah. So if you guys didn't know, Tongbei Pigua originated from Changzhou, and Zhou Sifu is also from Changzhou. So he studied with the Zhuo family village when he was a kid. And when we say Zhuo family, there is an actual village called Zhuozhong in Changzhou, and it's famous for the founder, which is Zuo Bao Mei, who was in the 17 something century, 17th, 18th century, you know. So that lineage is still alive today, and Sifu visited that village in 2012.
Yes.
And we have photos of it in the back that I think is somewhere on IG or our website as well. So yeah, we can still, luckily, fortunately, trace our lineage back to the origin. Now, the issue why, you know, if we can still trace the lineage, how comes there's not so much information? It's we think it's because, you know, still in Changzhou they are still quite disconnected from the digital age. So we are trying our best here to sort of get the information back out there. So again, coming back full circle to why we think why we're doing this Q&A session, because there's so many unanswered questions about Kung Fu out there, and especially about Tongbei Pigua. But if you guys have any questions about Tai Chi or Ba Gua or even Xing Yi, we can try our best to answer those too, since we have background in that too. Okay. Is there anything you want to add? Good for now. Right, let's go for our first questions. So, first question from Samuel. What are the principles of Tongbei Pigua Zheng? And then second question, how does the form translate into real fighting situation? Does it become similar like hooks? Do some similar moves are actually the same? Like is the same as straight in boxing? Maybe you might need to clarify the Baji question. Well, could you just clarify what the CHENG
汉字冲锤
冲锤 Oh, okay. Okay. Well, first question, principles of Tongbei Pigua Zheng. Well, this one is simply that your fists have you have to generate energy through the back, Tongbei, going through the back, through the arms, but actually the energy starts from the feet through the waist, and then having to go through the arms, and you extend as far as possible. But also that when you hit one side, the other would come, and then the other would come. So you don't lose any momentum. You make use of every single bit of energy that you throw out there. I'll translate.
個名，首先個名，你從個名度可以簡單啲理解通秘同埋劈掛兩部分。
Okay, so you can split the. You can also understand the principles by splitting the name Tong Bei and Pigua.
通秘咧係講嗰個發力嘅原理，點樣用力。
So Tongbei describes how you generate the power and release the power.
呢個咧係個力量係從個腳去到腰，再通過手臂打出嚟叫通秘。
And the energy is, like we just said, comes from the feet to the waist to the back to the arms and out. That's the generation of energy.
所有時間咧，呢個發力咧都係移動當中嘅，呢個非常緊要。
And then the most important thing about Tong Bei, what this means is that all of that energy happening occurs in movement. Has to be in movement whilst you're agile, walking forwards or back.
呢個同譬如比較南方嘅拳術咧好唔同。
So that is one major difference in comparison to southern arts, southern kung fu arts.
咁另外一個特點就係劈掛，劈掛就係講佢嗰個技術嘅點樣應用。
So then Pigua, the second part of the name. Pigua is how you use the energy, how you use the techniques of Tongbei, the Pigua energy.
飛明頭先都提到啦，就係嗰個兩邊都要用嘅嚇，先嚟講。
Yeah. So that is where you have to use both sides, Pigua, both sides of energy.
或者我問大家劈掛會唔會覺得係似你會諗到係乜嘢嘢咧？其實你會諗到咩兵器咧？其實
So Sifu's posing a question to you guys. What do you think the energy, what kind of weapon do you think represents Pigua?
It's a whip.
A whip?
Long whip, or soft whip.
嗰個叫乜鬼啊？
鞭
鞭
係
咪啊？
劈掛呢兩個字喎。
Pigua.
單單劈。
So the whip kind of, but not quite. Any other more guesses?
簡單啲嘅。
It's even simpler. Any other guesses, anyone? You guys can unmute yourself if you'd like. Saber and staff from Richard. Saber 即係刀啦。
呢個非常接近。
刀 and 棍啦。
係啊，呢個 Richard。
係啊，Richard's got it. Saber and staff is the most.
呢個其實就係劈掛嘅基本嘅原理。中國好多嘅武術，尤其是北方咧，佢係同兵器咧係一齊嘅。
So actually, it's saber and staff is the most accurate to describe, or at least where the concepts of Pigua came from, originated from sabers and staff use. And it's the staff is very important for most northern arts. It's from using the staff that a lot of northern kung fu techniques come from. Like the fist techniques come from the staff technique.
呢個喺中國北方呢個好普遍嘅現象就係將呢個兵器嘅應用方法轉移到去拳術。
Yeah, so that is very typical of northern arts, which is to start, the starting point is from the staff, and then they translate the staff techniques into a fist technique.
所以有時你見到啲動作咧，點解咁大個動作咧？其實佢係拎住嗰個兵器嘅動作嚟嘅，原初嚇。
And so when you see in the northern arts why the movements are so big and elongated and outstretched and long, it's because it came from originating from using the staff.
有重啦，又
And also because of the weight and the length of the weapons. That's why your movements compensate. Very big.
咁呢個係從最初係咁樣樣，咁後來就當然係發展純粹嘅拳術嘅打擊嘅方法啦。但係呢個原初個來源咧，其實從兵器嗰度劈掛。
So yeah, eventually the techniques, obviously the fist techniques developed slowly and eventually into their own style. But the origin you can still connect to using the weapons. And so for northern arts like Tongbei Pigua, and it's very important to understand weapons and to use weapons too. 咁邊咧？
邊就其實邊就接近。如果講邊咧，頭先嗰位朋友 Samuel 其實邊咧係接近嗰個用力方法通鼻嗰度。
So the whip, in terms of the whip, Pigua does get described as like a whip, and it's more about how it describes the whipping action. That's like the Pigua style, but that's not where the principles of Tongbei Pigua came from.
我哋講發力方法咧，有幾個嘅，一個就係鞭勁，頭先Samuel 提嗰個。
Okay.
好似一條軟鞭咁樣嘅發力。
So there's many ways that Tongbei Pigua energy is described. One such is like Samuel's analogy of the whip.
軟嘅。
It's a soft and elastic.
即係你打出去嗰時係軟嘅，翻嚟好快。
And it comes back whipping action.
當然我一坐喺度啦，但係如果你企喺度，個腳咧由個腳去到個腰，再隻手彈出去，好似一條你成個人就喺條邊。
Okay, and of course right now we're sitting, but if we were standing, maybe you could show later, is even though there's this whipping action, the energy generates first from the leg, through the back, waist, and then it's like that your whole body becomes the whip, and it withdraws and it, extends and withdraws, snapping like whip. Again, that describes the Pigua energy use.
咁喺左家通秘裏面，佢有近似另一個講述類似嘅嘢，我哋話番茄勁係另一種。
And then there's another energy that's being described in Tongbei Pigua,
其實差唔多嘅，但係佢咧就係用第二個比喻，佢就好似我哋講話個水井咁。
Okay, so 番茄勁describes another aspect of Tongbei Pigua energy, which is like 番茄, how do you call it?
嗰個井。
It's kind of like that description. Like maybe you guys can help me with this. It's when you've got a well and then you've got a bucket and it's being lowered down, and then you slowly draw it up, and then the well slowly comes up. And then the second you let go, that bucket goes all the way down, right? But it's not a straight down. It's like a tumbling down. So that, yes, 番茄, not fanzi. Fanzi is like a different. Fanzi, Quan, don't get that confused. That's a different kung fu style. But 番茄, yeah. But 番茄is it means to draw. I would say draw and circle. It's that pulling up. It's like fishing as well. That fishing action. So this revolving energy is another aspect of Tongbei Pigua.
佢都係形容點樣發力同邊勁可以一齊去思考啦。
And 番茄 can happen at the same time as the whip action, right? So that energy isn't different. It's just 3 different ways to describe the same, kung fu.
但係如果傳統左家嘅劈掛通秘，通常用番茄去形容呢個。
Now, if you were to describe, people describe Tongbei Zhou family, Tongbei Pigua, it's usually, the characteristic is this fan che is quite big. So if you see, we have a lot of sparring techniques and they're vertical circles, it's quite like that. Yeah, we can demonstrate some in a moment. Okay. I hope that answers the first question, which is the principles of.
Can I ask about the first question again? Sorry.
Oh yes, go ahead.
I want to ask like the principles, like the Tai Chi one, like Han Xiong Pa Pei and things like that. That what makes the move is right or good, like that.
Okay. 呢個佢同太極唔同嘅，太極佢含胸拔背係太極嗰種嘅。咁我諗阿 Samuel 想問嘅係嗰種原理啦，即係啲
姿勢上嗰啲規範嗰啲咁嘅。係。Okay。
我諗係想問。
So in terms of the 咁呢個都比較長嘅，如果需要。
咁簡單嚟講咧，就吞空嘅其實要。
Okay, so one principle that must is 吞空。吞空，師傅 demonstrate。
一般我哋呢個平㗎嘛，吞空嘅話咧，你呢度。
Okay, so when he's doing this, 吞空 is
相反，我做一個平時就係咁樣嘛。發力嗰陣時咧，佢反而要吞空。平時就係平㗎嘛，呢度。
So normally your chest is flat, right? Especially when you work, when you do.
冇錯啦。咁如果我哋話，譬如打一個單劈就。
But when you do this 單劈 single chop,
收入嚟。
You see his chest now. It's so collapsed. It's 吞空. It's hollow. Hollow.
相反。
The opposite, which would be wrong, is if it was how do you call it? Like boasted out. Yeah, if it was like boasted out, that would be wrong.
其實你打雙劈分掌，呢個咧係放鬆嘅，都唔可以停出嚟都。
When you do fun peg, which is the split,
放鬆呢度。
You need to have a relaxed chest. It can't be tensed out.
要 relax.
So hollow and relaxed is a key principle.
係咪？如果講身法原理咧，呢個係其中一個啦。另外就
身法係 body。
其實腳咧，我哋基本上拎起腳踭小登山。
This is another principle.
最常
Often used 小登山。
同一般公道咁樣係嘛？
The heel is different. This is often used. This is correct. If your heel is 如果你個
7-8%都係。
Yeah, 70% of our techniques are always in this kind of posture, with the weight in the front and the heel.
你嘅時咧，呢個切胯要做呢個切胯，抿腳切胯。
So 切胯 is this collapsing of the quad. Well, not really collapse. It's more like turning in so that your thigh is facing the same direction. So
呢個切胯，抿腰。
I move over here. You see his quad is the same direction as us right now, whilst his chest is.
咁樣就唔啱。
This would be wrong. So you see his back foot is facing outside. Now its knees and direction, his whole body is facing the same direction. That's correct. Imagine right now where we are standing from this view is the enemy. He is, facing everything is towards us. The opponent.
全個身嘅力量，唔係淨係呢度打嚟，我後邊換埋後邊呢個力，後邊呢個所有力量。
It's not just the hands that go, it's the whole body. The whole body turns, the hip turns, everything turns.
先問嗰個衝拳衝拳。
So 衝拳。Is this the 衝拳? The single punch, right? Samuel was asking.
緊要我哋講埋一般衝拳。
Well, anyway, we'll just talk about this. So straight this out like this.
衝拳。咁但係佢踢通臂嘅出拳咧，佢都有出直拳嘅喎。咁你嗱呢度下邊睇啫。
So if we were to do a Tongbei Pigua single fist, it would be like this.
係啦。
You see the difference?
一般衝拳。
So now he's going to do a normal. So this is your regular lazy punch. Regular common, not lazy. Common punch. And then a Tongbei Pigua punch would be. See that much more extension. And also the quad at the bottom, it's much more, it's all forwards. Yeah. So you see, it's that Tong Bei going through the back, through the body, everything, turning. And if you were to describe the width, it's like that as well. It's from the leg forwards. So I hope that answers one of the principal type questions. It's not like Tai Chi. Tai Chi is very, they have a lot of written principles, 10, 13. It's Tongbei Pigua is not like that so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe back in the day, no one's ever investigated and written it out. Maybe one day you guys can figure it out.
同埋頭先，如果個發力咧係講多個。
One more, you've got one more to show.
先我哋呢個係初步嘅，但係所有90%嘅通臂捲嘅動作其實都係要移動。
Okay, so that right now we just demonstrated that those two techniques, they were static, we were standing still, right? But actually majority we were saying have to be moving. So the single fist would correctly be like this. So you see he's also moving in the diagonal, it's not a
步咧，發力嗰時咧係喐緊嘅。
可唔可以示範多一次？跟住斜你行嗰個斜步咧。Oh yeah, maybe長啲。So we're gonna go diagonal. So I'll follow him from behind, and you can see that he's not actually going in a straight line, right? He's actually going diagonal. His feet are going in diagonal, but the fists are hitting that straight line. It's to give the extra time.
唔係停低先打，而係一路推緊嘅。
And also, it's not that punch. The punch travels with him. He's not stopped and then punched. It's once he stopped, the punch arrives. So the punch starts at, there is no clear start or stop because it's continuous. And then a different down peg, how you would do that when moving. You see that foot as well? How it's always lifted and agile. This is down peg. You can do it all through it. And now he's doing all the stuff. Okay. It's very natural in Tongbei Pigua to just continue and then doing other random stuff. It's very fluid like that. Oh. Okay, get back to this. Okay. How much more time do we got? 仲有20分鐘啦，好快。Okay, let's have a look at other questions first. Azaz asked, any examples of elbows and kicks within Tongbei Pigua 獎？
有。
示範啊？He wants to actually do examples 啊？係咪？好快啫，兩個啦。Elbows and kicks。Elbows 有咩 elbows？
最多踢咧就係低腳。
So often our kicks are low kicks. Can you guys see it properly? Hopefully both angles help. So they're often low kicks to the shin, for example. Because it's like it's the idea of Chongzhou is a lot of mud and sand and dirt. So a lot of the time when you're kicking, you whip up a lot of dust into the person. And then also it's when someone's fighting you, your eye vision is usually at the head. So a low kick is more deceptive. Okay, and then there's another one which is muk min gut, which is wiping fist, something like that. Okay, so muk min, the idea of muk min is blocking someone's vision, yeah. So it's like, swiping past and you can't see properly. That. So you do that to the face first. In terms of the gut, so that's using the foot. Oh, so that is a leading. Okay, so this is very common. It's this foot which is, the foot goes up high to block your gaze or to scare you, but it's not to hit you. If it hits, great. If it doesn't, it sets up for another attack. It's the second one that he's actually using for attack. The first one is a leading in, feel the energy, and then leading in or closing the distance. So yeah, a lot of combo moves because the first two are just leading, and if the leading moves land, great. But actually, it's the third one which was the important one. And then the third most common used kick. Okay. Okay, so now he's going to show a 前登腳, which is like a very simple heel. So this is a very famous combo now. So if I was to attack, two, so that's a very common combo where the hands do the like that kind of thing that we were talking about before. But this group, that's a group combo, which you often see. To get all the hands up, and then when you finally get into the space, you jump and kick. Yeah, it's very obvious the fan tagging. Yeah. Oh, and then to go down. So in a way, like by that time you've done so many of these, you've already backed the person so far there, you haven't got much distance left, and then you finish it off with a kick. And if that kick doesn't finish it off, then you finish it off with more. So those are the most common types of kicks that we use in Tongbei Pigua. Oh, elbows 係咪啊 ？Elbows 反而冇乜哦。都有我哋嗰個盤爪嗰啲。盤爪 Okay, we've got a few, but actually not so much. 唔係常用嘅。You can find them. We don't often use elbows. That's more like backing stuff, right? But not often we use these. 即係我哋通常入到嚟呢度撳埋咧，都已經。係，我哋有個上面嘅爪法咧，係啦。And then this is like conditioning that you often see on our IG. It's to train the fist. But this is how you would use it as well. Often it's just going up and then down. But often we won't use elbows. By the time you get into that distance of elbow, you're probably dead already.
因為佢都係比較長嘅，都係多啲嘅。
Yeah, because Tongbei Pigua is much more longer distance. Okay, next question. Relationship with Siu Lam Tongbei Kun?
冇關。
No relationship, sorry. As far as we know, there's not much relationship. That's as far as we know. I've asked people before as well. I'm not sure. Okay. The younger, smaller kids make for great heads. Oh yeah. We don't use the lion dancing stuff actually. That's Maxifu's Hongda. It's actually a more southern tradition. Could you describe these three families for future reference? Ma, Gok, and Zhuo. I'll type it out. Ma family, Guo family.
咁都有關係嘅。
Zhuo family. Zhuo Mei. I typed them out in the group. You guys can research more, but we'll briefly.
好簡單講。
Briefly, simply summarize.
馬家嘅就係馬英圖啦，馬英圖。
So the most famous person in Ma Ga is Ma Ying. Well, we say famous, like recognized lah. It's Ma Ying Tu.
馬英圖佢就係左家通秘嘅傳人。
So Ma Ying Tu he studied under Zhuo. He studied under Zhuo family.
跟住佢之後佢哋屋企人自己成立一個叫馬家。
And then afterwards, from Ma Ying Tu, they split into a different, and they established Ma family. Ma Ying Tu 係幾時㗎？18
民國嗰陣時候，即係1940幾年過身啊，大概。
So Ma Ying Tu is around like 1930s, something like that, 1930s-ish.
過身都差唔多。
Oh, when he passed away, it's 1930s, something like that. If my translation is wrong, don't kill us.
佢馬家嘅功夫主要就係佢融合咗番子啊、呢個錯腳啊，即係其他功夫落去。本身馬英圖係練左家劈法通臂，後來馬家嘅通臂其實就係多咗好多其他功夫。
So although originally Ma Ying Tu had studied Zhuo family Tongbei, he then also like absorbed in different styles like Fan Zi, Quan, and also Chokka is yeah, the kick technique. But that isn't because of Ma Ying Tu's doing. It's more like his family or his descendants. They incorporated, but they used Ma family as a name. You know, it's like we start a school and then everyone says, oh yeah, this is my school, and we develop it, but we're under this school. You know, that's what happened. So Ma family is quite famous for Zhuo Tongbei Pigua base, and then absorbing different. Oh yeah, and then they also absorbed in other like southern different areas weaponry as well. So yeah, 國家
咧就國家本身郭長生就同馬英圖係比較好嘅朋友啦。
Guo Cheng Sheng and Ma Ying Tu. So, Guo family, Guo Cheng Sheng was good friends of Ma Ying Tu.
如果根據我師傅講咧，其實我哋唔清楚一個國家嘅師承，即係話郭長生。
And then according to what we know and Sifu, we actually aren't entirely clear on the Guo family's origins, but we do know Guo Cheng Sheng and Ma Ying Tu were friends, meaning that they studied together or had a close brotherly relationship in martial arts of some sort.
但係佢哋係馬英圖、郭長生，仲有即係祝師傅、我師傅嘅其中一個師傅，佢哋咧都係滄州人，佢哋係結拜兄弟嚟嘅。
But Guo Cheng Sheng, Ma Ying Tu, and our Sifu, all Chongzhou people. So, you know, it's all in the same area. Chongzhou, although is very big, if you look at the map, like the area that is Tongbei Pigua is very close. And the three of them were very close relationship anyway. At that time, early 19th century. At that time lah. Yeah.
但係呢幾家功夫其實咧喺近代咧係有交流嘅。
And then, but in recent times, these three families have had a lot of exchanges in martial knowledge and 即係佢哋都有發展唔同啦。
有嘅。
And
各
different
個發展，
developments.
但係佢哋之間有 exchange 啲嘢。
Yeah. So whilst every family and every generation obviously must develop their style, there's still been a lot of good relationships back in Chongzhou. And it's only natural that like Kung Fu develops because it's, you know, every teacher teaches another and another student, etc., etc. There will be developments. It's natural. Not good or bad. It's just different, right? So yeah, that's the major of the three. But if you still look at online, like I've done a lot of YouTubing, of course, and I try to compare the three, and I see a lot of they're more similar than different. So between Tong Bei Pigua, more similar than different. Whereas if you were to say Tong Bei Pigua versus Shaolin Tong Bei, we don't see much similarity there. And if you were to say Tong Bei Pigua and Ba Yun Tong Bei 都接近啲嘅。Ba Yun Tong Bei has a lot more similar, and then like 五行咧，五行都似嘅。五行 not so much, 五星 not so much. So yeah. Ba Yun Tong Bei is the closest that we also see to Tong Bei Pigua. The other types of Tong Bei trend is quite different. Shaolin being the most different. Okay. Gosh, time has gone. 10 minutes left. Let me see what other questions we've got. Yes, so very similar to Baji, low kick. Yes, we do have low kicks like that. Any palm conditioning method, special hand 嗰啲 conditioning 叫乜鬼啊？盤爪。唔係，即係我哋嗰啲盤爪咧。Actually, the conditioning techniques I think there's on our IG. 我哋有嗰個咧 like we can quickly demo, but you can find it on our IG as well. Let me see. So we've got this one, in and out. So it's the inside at the top and at the bottom, and then we switch sides. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And then we've got another one which we just demoed already. This one, and then here, which is actually it's the above the point. It's not the point. It's above it. You don't want to hit using that point because that will. They've got a lot of nerves there. It's above. That's where you hit. And then we've got punga, which is this, where you've got the knees actually, you know, in lock, and then you switch sides, and this. Yeah. And then actually with the one before, the elbows, it's the same. It's the same fist. It's the same. And then for feet, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we're always doing these movements, right? So it's like this. So they're all in movement. And then you this one. And we move with this too. So we have a lot of conditioning. That one's for the back. You could do these with a pole as well, but make sure you don't actually you don't hit with the point. Where we hit just now was sort of the inside the middle part of the bones. We never actually hit with the fist or the knuckle or the boat. That will shatter. It's more the imagine it's like that staff again. It's the stick bit of it, not the point bit of it. So actually there was a question, is Tong Bei Pigua like a spear? Not really like a spear. Much more like a saber or a stick. Baji is, I think they are the ones that developed their style out of spears. Tong Bei Pigua developed from sticks and sabers. So you have the concept of how does a stick and saber move? Pet or gua, typically. Chopping or hanging. So yeah. We've got 7 minutes more. I think 1930. 邊我打嘅 something like that. 我寫落去。 Well, yeah, just the date references, we're putting this out of our knowledge. It might be wrong. 基本功 those are typical 基本功 there's quite a lot, right? There's quite a lot. We can split the system into different like 基本功. We've got like the 單式 So yeah, we've got a lot. I think that system is too much to go through in this session. But we can, I think we'll definitely, it's something maybe we'll put on our blog one day because it's quite long. We've got to piece it out. Is there any other questions? Maybe quickly then, we've got 7 minutes. I can share screen and put on Samuel's training. 1 second, I will share screen. Let me see. Can everyone see my screen? Yeah, I think so. So Samuel asked, how can he improve this?
What can I TP?
So that was Dante. Oh, it's quite good already. Let's watch again.
What can I
If you want
TP?
to, so if you want to bring more power to it, then you just extend the legs longer, make everything stretch out further. And also start to bring in the moving into it. We'll quickly show you how to bring in the moving into it. So it's already very good, honestly. You can improve it by extending and just getting longer. So yours example was about this kind of range. But actually you can make it as big as this. And as low as this. And even further. You see the weight is all the way in the front leg. The back leg still is, that heel is up. And as you turn that quad, again, facing the same direction. Just make it bigger if you want to get more power. In practice, this is how you can do it in practice. And then to add movement to it. So you add that circle pet, like circle pet. And you can do multiple of those. Like, yeah. Gua, that's the gua there. Pet, gua. Pet, gua, pet, pet. And then you can make it even longer.
咁你會更加
呢個嘅應用咧。So we'll quickly demo the how you can actually use it.
Sorry, can you please stop this screen sharing? It's hard to see. Sorry.
Hey, sorry. 1 second. Share screen off. Have we stopped the screen sharing yet?
It's haven't stopped.
Whoa. Oh.